Welcome back. This is Stubber in the West End with T Junction, and I am Tracy McLean Lowe, uh, who's been out and about in the city, out in Eglinton West mostly, visiting the Taste of the Caribbean that's running up there every weekend and into August 22nd, and we're now on the 31st of July. And while I was out and about at the Taste of the Caribbean and at Salsa on St. Clair, and there was what I noticed was a lot of those. So the moment there's an event around the city, we put out our porta potties, which is great because now they even have hand sanitizer in them. But at the same time, I think we deserve something a little bit better. I'll go into that in a minute. This is about getting our high streets and our shopping, our retail areas on the streets more user-friendly, more shopper-friendly, more foot traffic friendly. They are not supermarkets where they've got toilets around the corner or banking centers around the corner. And something we should look at. Another thing we should look at, as I was going around Eglinton, it's wonderful that all the roadworks have gone and that we can actually get out onto the street and do certain bits and pieces and have these in areas around the city. But at the same time, our buildings and our rubbish are all looking a little sad. Probably all that dirt and grime that's been going on for the last 8 years, as is what happens. There you go. This was up at the Caribbean Farmers Market, also up on Eglinton West Avenue in Little Jamaica. And if you've noticed, like I have, there's dustbins there. And I think that's probably dustbins from the other side. But wherever you go up on the up on our retail areas, there are Toronto's blue dustbins. And we have our collection days, and we do try very hard to keep it all clean, but it can get to be a bit of a nightmare. And what I found was something actually in the Netherlands. Now, they look really, really small on the top, and I'm going to attach a video to both in the description and to a link within the video here to another person from Toronto comparing the Netherlands garbage removal. And this is very interesting. While the receptacles at the top look very small, underneath there lies a really, really, really large rubbish bin. And their process of doing this is they're not only just big, large rubbish and recycling bins, but they're also trash compactors. So they're keeping it nice and tight. Bearing in mind, Netherlands doesn't have a lot of land to go dumping in with landfills and making a lot of rubbish dumps. So they have to find innovative ways of doing it. And so should we. I mean, Toronto, or at least Canada, has its own garbage problems, and it's not just across Toronto, it's across all of our cities. Again, these are quite sort of like intricate little machines that can, in some instances, actually tell you when they're full. And then the people will come along and they'll collect them and empty them and start again. But they don't need to come by as often. They don't fill up the streets. Here you've got one that's actually separating either a walkway and a cyclist route or a roadway and a cyclist route, which gives something for cars to bump into or cyclists to make sure that they don't try and ride through, so pedestrians don't get squished by bicycles. So, and we have some of these facilities certainly on our larger main through roads. And I'm saying Eglinton West, St. Clair Avenue West, and going east as well. And then you've got the larger roads on the north and south, Bathurst, Dufferin, Ossington and Oakwood Avenues, Young Avenue. And you go all the way along to the east and or west, you've got enough large roads to facilitate these kind of rubbish bins for our high streets. It's something I think either the city should invest in or, well, the city should invest in them, and they should discuss doing this properly. They, after all, according to the video I watched earlier, was like a couple of billion on just getting our food rubbish bins to lock so that the raccoons wouldn't get in, but they found a way in anyway. Another thing that I noticed is we don't have a lot of public toilets, which was why I pointed out the porta potty. Now, around the world, they have various different things. This is something from London. Now, I never used one of these in London. We weren't in there long enough, and we managed to go to a tea room that had rather nice toilets. But you can't always go into a tea room or a coffee shop or a restaurant, especially when you're not ready to eat or you're just walking by and you need the toilet. You do need public restrooms. And as nice as the porta potties are now with the hand sanitizer and the toilet paper and everything, they are, they're just not very nice. And what I found when I was going around in Torquay in the UK was pay as you go. Pay as you go to the loo, basically. And these particular ones were 20p to get in. They were kept clean and they were visible. And the ones that we had was a huge big one at the Torquay right by the park. Um, and these should be facilitated in areas, especially where in our summer times we are going to have events like Salsa on St. Clair or our Caribbean Festival. People sometimes coming out for the day just because a few live up the road or up a flight of stairs onto the fifth floor of a building doesn't mean everybody does. Some people are just passing through. Some people have come specifically to see the Caribbean festival, and as granted, it's now undercover. It's in a parking lot or underground parking facility so that you can go rain or shine. There's not always a toilet to go to, not even in the parking lot. So public toilets or the city investing in pay-as-you-go public loos, probably not a bad idea either. In fact, you might be able to franchise them. I mean, after all, if we can actually do it for laundromats where you've got this whole room full of people just slotting their money in to go to the laundromat. Believe you me, people you need to use the toilet just as much. Should laundromats facilitate the building next door as public toilets? Should they make their facilities larger so they have public toilets and their laundry facilities? How handy is that for somebody who's on the road? Yeah, you launder and there you brush your teeth and go to the loo. You don't have to have showers or anything like that. You just have to have a place to go to the toilet. And if it's pay as you go, you can pay to afford to somebody to clean it. You can afford to pay for the plumbing. After all, laundromats have enough plumbing issues of their own. But you've got the plumbing there, so there's that as well. There are these ideas that A, could bring money into the city or into a municipality. We could take a look at them with our commercial real estate. We've got a lot of them going up or thinking of going up along St. Clair West Avenue West and Eglinton Avenue West. Maybe the lower level shouldn't just be for a huge shop, but should be for public toilet facilities, those kind of things. Again, I'm not saying that this should be get for free. People need to keep these things clean. And they are difficult to keep clean if they are not maintained properly. And it takes money to maintain them properly. So, we should expect, or we should make sure, the city needs to make sure that these property developers who are coming in and putting up these huge properties are not just trying to put stores in there or anchor stores so they can get a large amount of money in from corporate profit, but they should be looking at servicing the public as well. If that means public toilets in their lower ground facility, then so be it. That's what they do. We need toilets. We can't, you're going into stores, yes, but you're not necessarily going to a coffee shop. You might be blocks and blocks away from a toilet or going into a coffee shop. And you can't just expect to go into a Timmy's, which we often do. It's got one, possibly two toilets if you're lucky, and not buy anything. And sometimes, it really isn't just a case. And Timmy's, you don't have to buy anything, but from some of the smaller ones, you almost felt obliged. I certainly felt that way when I popped into a little place out in Cedar Vale Village the other weekend. It was a Sunday. And we weren't stopping for food or drink. We were just taking photographs and stuff. And I had to pop into this little takeaway place. And I asked if I could use the toilet. Thank goodness he wasn't busy. Had he been busy, I might have had to wait to ask the question. He might have had to say no because he didn't want everybody to go to the toilet. Lucky for me, he wasn't busy at the time, and on my way out, I chose to buy a drink. But again, it's because Eglinton Avenue West has been so quiet. I think it's taking a little bit of time for businesses to build up. So by putting these facilities out there, you know, you're not taking business away from the stores, you're actually alleviating these businesses, because once they've got a queue and their own customers need to go to the toilet, and then they've got outsiders coming in who need, you're creating queues. And while it's not probably a top-end money spinner, it could certainly earn money and provide a public service to us all. Oh, and don't forget some changing rooms for the families. The other thing I was thinking about, and again, this is the landlords and businesses as well, depends if the business owns the unit that they're in or the upstairs rental unit. But I was having a look about Jamaican villages and what they kind of like look like and what they feel. Now we've got a lot of artwork around Little Jamaica, saying Reggae Center and Little Jamaica and these very sort of like African, Jamaican, cultural, Caribbean kind of artwork. But some of it's so well hidden, you have to go looking for it if you're not hunting it down. And I do think that our streets, especially Little Jamaica, deserves a little bit of colour. We've got these brick buildings up in the left-hand corner here. And granted, they're good housing blocks, but they're so blur. And you've got store owner signs, and as I said, people are trying to bring the business back into the area, and maybe it just needs a little bit of color. You've got some of the city artwork. Toronto actually trying to get as much artwork out there. We've got a small company up near Cedarville or Humewood. It's either in Hillcrest or up in Cedarville. That's actually offering to paint people's doors. I think both business and home, if you want them done, so that they bring some color back into the neighborhoods. And yeah, summer needs a bit of color, and it's not bad to see this color in the winter either, reflected against the snow. And nobody really wants to see these porta potty loos around everywhere when we go out to events in the city. It would be nice to have something nice and clean and places where you can comfortably go to the toilet. Even if you're paying 50 cents to go to the toilet, it's a pleasure. They're relatively safe. They usually have a cleaner on site. Because you can't keep them open all day. They might have to bear in. You can't always have them in the substation because not everybody wants to go to the train station. They want to stay above ground. Especially in the summer, you want to be above ground. You don't want to have to go indoors everywhere. So yes, these are things that we should be asking our new mayor and our city councillor about investing in. Some better garbage bins, something that doesn't have us looking like the trash is out on the street there in those blue bins and our little roadside bandits, the local raccoons, getting into the darn things. We're trying to make the city look as pretty as possible. And, with putting flowers in all the containers and getting the walls painted. But it's all part and parcel of the same thing, These things have got to get done. These things, there you go. It looks all really lovely with the flowers and the trees, and boom, rubbish bin. And that public rubbish bin over there is just not worthy. It's such a tiny little thing, gets overflown so quickly on a busy day. And then you've got the bees, and then you've got somewhere along the line here, you've got a seat in between the dustbins and the flowers and the bees. So we need to rethink how we plan these things, and so we can enjoy more of our summer in the West End or where we are in Toronto. And that's all I have for today. So please do like and subscribe. And I certainly look forward to seeing you all in the very near future. Thank you and goodbye.